Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Senior management, senior recruiters, directors, the top levels of businesses are all calling for something that they say is absolutely necessary if the Scottish economy is to thrive and prosper. If you work in London, you get paid more relatively for the same job. It's called London waiting. Because they have to weight the salary higher because of how expensive it is in London. Well, they're now calling for a thing called Scottish waiting or Scotland waiting. Simply because the higher taxes in Scotland means you have to pay more money so that people will take home the same salary as if they were doing the job in England. Now, you may think that this sounds okay. Yeah, okay, then, you pay them slightly more. They're paying more in tax, which means more goes into the coffers. But also it means that the people then are taking home the same money as if they were doing the job in England. It's all very fine, fair and pleasant. But it isn't, because no money is free. And in order to pay the increased salaries to people working in Scotland, it means the prices have to go up in order to cover that salary uplift, making the product, the service, whatever it is they sell, less competitive. Basic rule of economics. Unfortunately, of course, the people running Scotland haven't got a clue about economics. And that's why you're in the mess you're in. Let's take a look at this to see why you could be in deeper trouble than even the SNP have got you into, simply because the immutable laws of economics. Here goes. If you needed to have an operation, you'd want the person who's about to open you up and take bits out or whatever it was to be experienced, qualified, knowledgeable, an expert in their field. You wouldn't expect one of the porters at the hospital to do it. And similarly, if you needed your house rewiring, you wouldn't get that bloke from down the chippy to do it. You'd get a qualified electrician. And so you have to wonder why people trust the likes of Humza Yousaf, Shona Robinson, and that level of intellect, lack thereof, from running an economy. These people are morons. These people do not understand how businesses work. These people have never run businesses. They've all come straight into politics. They've never been in the real world. They don't understand things like supply and demand. They don't understand opportunity cost. They don't understand where money comes from. And yet they sit there and they make these decisions and they say, oh, look at us, aren't we wonderful? Aren't we wise? And then everything goes completely wrong and they have to put taxes up to cover themselves because they've made such a pig's ear of everything they've touched. And what happens when you put taxes up? Those who can get the hell out of Dodge and go south in order to earn the money they're used to, often with better services. It is the way of the world. If you've got a transferable skill, why would you hang around? Why not travel elsewhere and earn your money easier? And that, of course, is the problem. And that's the problem with these high taxes that Scotland have. And so in order to attract people, in order to attract the entrepreneurs, in order to attract the directors, the senior management that's needed to run the wheels of business in Scotland, they have to be paid more so that after tax, they're not out of pocket. I understand this. You understand this. Everybody understands this, except the chimps sitting in Holyrood, bashing around all day, tea partying it, throwing their excrement at the people of Scotland. So top executives want Scottish salary weighting to offset the SNP's tax rises, and you can understand why. Leading headhunters have confirmed that increasing numbers of top-tier company directors have secured an enhanced pay packet to offset the taxation on higher earners. But of course that higher pay comes at a cost, and the cost is either productivity or competitiveness. If you're entering a market and you have to charge more for your product in order to compete, you're going to lose out, aren't you? Top executives from across the UK are considering introducing a Scottish weighting in their salaries before moving jobs to compensate for the higher income tax introduced by the SNP. Leading headhunters have confirmed that increasing numbers of top-tier company directors have secured an enhanced salary to offset the taxation on higher earners. The trend has raised concerns about Scotland's competitiveness in the high-level labour market, with a sixth tax band for top earners due to be introduced on April the 6th. And according to the Sunday Times, recruiters specialising in placing chief executives with major firms have warned that employers face either paying higher salaries or missing out on the UK's best talent. And the other thing, of course, is when you have a pot of salary, and in order to attract the better bosses, you have to use more money out of that salary pot to pay the bosses the uplifted money. It means there's less money left for the workers. And so while the boss may get, say, a 10% increase to cover the increase in taxation over what he'd earn if he was in England, it means the guys at the bottom are only going to get 1 or 2%. Very, very thin gruel, don't you think? Adam Brown, director of FWB Park Brown, an executive search and advisory service, said, "Already we are seeing what is increasingly being referred to as Scotland waiting, where salaries are being adjusted to compensate individuals for the income tax consequences of working in Scotland." And you can see why. In effect, the employer is facing a choice of whether to increase pay to offset the increase in tax, or to face not recruiting the best talent or not retaining it. And if this continues, it could, of course, have some impact on the competitiveness of these companies and organisations in Scotland. Indeed, and you're going to get this brain drain, and it's already happening. One of the problems you've got, especially in the likes of the NHS, is massive recruitment problems because, first of all, massively underfunded. You can't attract, say, a consultant. Doesn't matter what his speciality is, but you can't attract a consultant if what you're saying to him is, hey, you're currently in England, come to Scotland and earn less in an environment which is much, much harder to work in, where there's increased levels of physical attack, where the stress levels are much higher, and where instead of dealing with, say, 100,000 people, you'll have a field of maybe 250,000 people that will be, you'll be responsible for, kind of thing. And they're all going to go, yeah, that's great, but, no. Now, you could get them up there if you said, look, we'll give you 20% more salary, and then they may think about it. But then you have the problem of, what about the guys that are already there? Well, they get the 20% more salary. They can say, that's most unfair, and so forth. And the next thing you know, your wage bill for the NHS has jumped. And if the doctors are getting, the consultants are getting 20%, junior doctors will want that. Nurses will want that. Janitors, porters, admin staff, they'll all want that. Unaffordable. This is what happens, of course, when you look at people with an IQ of about 86 are sitting writing the cheques for an entire country. It's not good. Liz Smith from the Scottish Conservatives said the SNP's creation of a tax gap with the rest of the UK was bound to be a disincentive for workers who might otherwise have come to Scotland. It's no surprise that those who are prepared to move here want higher salaries to reflect the additional burden the SNP have imposed. And of course, there's those that are already there that are looking to move south because exactly the same reason. Brown added that executive candidates raising concerns about the direction of travel in Scottish income tax and what that might mean, particularly if the differential was to widen. Jamie Livingston, Chief Executive of Livingston Janes, an executive search and selection business based in Edinburgh and Glasgow, said the salary weighting was particularly taxing, I presume no pun intended, for companies with branches across the UK. Scottish weighting is definitely something which is being spoken about more since this new tax band was announced. And it is absolutely real. It's happening now. People are leaving the jobs. People are not recruited into jobs. People with the high skills know they can travel south, earn a lot more, and it isn't actually going to harm them. Who it is going to harm, though, is everyone else left behind in Scotland. C'est la vie. Vote in morons, get stupid policies. I'll round off there. We'll come up and we'll finish the video. It's very, very sad for Scotland that enough morons voted for the SNP that they've made these morons in charge. Shona Robinson, a woman with an IQ of 86 on a good day, is sitting there making policy that is actively harming every single person in Scotland. The stupid ones think, oh look, we're getting this for free and that for free and something else for free. What they fail to realise, of course, is there's no such thing as free. Other people have to pay for it, and they can only do that when other people are actually there paying tax in order to pay for it. And when everybody with money leaves Scotland, everything will fall apart. And then you'll all be going, oh, but look, it's all gone shitty. Yes, it's all gone shitty because you keep voting in the likes of Shona Robinson and Humza Yousaf. Except, of course, you didn't vote him in. You got him as a leader and nobody voted for him. Anyway, stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please pay attention to these people. Don't let them ever have this power again. Remove it from them next election. But stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.